morning. Thank you for being here today. Thankful to ASI. We're moving forward. ASI program is going to be transferred over to the state side. Today, you're going to learn a lot more training and get more information about the IRA program and what we're trying to accomplish with that. With that, I'm going to just get out of the way and turn it over to Provost Tavirian and let him say some profound words that will inspire all of us.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you all. Again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you. This is, IRA has been very close to my heart for many years. Most of you know I've been running high impact practices for past, 10 or 15 years now. And, IRA really, it helps our students to have experiential learning. This is really a key point for both retention of our students, both closing achievement gap and higher level of learning. So I can't imagine doing this without the fund that we have provided through our student fees and IRA funding. So this is a really, really important program. It's really important for our students for years. I think we need, not that we need to talk about it, we also need to highlight it for our students. We need more faculty members, we need more campus programs involved in IRA and using the IRA funds. For years, ASI, I want to thank ASI again for really running this program. But it was run as a secondary along with the campus. It wasn't integrated into the campus the way we needed to be from a financial perspective. So now I'm excited because the IRA need to be part of the funds that we do every day. And it really helped us to help our students to move forward. We have 41,376 students this morning. I just want you to know, every day I tell everyone, I don't sleep until to see every class, and I don't sleep until I see every single, student counts or FDS. So this is what I do every night. Even when the census is closed, I still check those things because I don't want any of our students drop. So it is. He's not making this up. And it is important. Every student's graduation is important. Now, as we know, retention is what's been our problem. And it's not just our problem. It's really a nation problem after COVID. This is not a CSU Fullerton problem. It's actually is a nation problem. Every university struggles with retention right now after COVID. So we really need to retain our students moving forward. About 3,000 of our students that has an opportunity to register for fall did not register. And what keeping up at night is that. Why our students are not registering? Why are our students not progressing to graduation? And that is a key. IRA is the one that really gets the student excited. It gets the student moved into a right direction. As I said, it provides this experiential learning, the aha moment. The aha moment that a student says, oh my God, this is what I want to do the rest of my life. It doesn't come from theoretical background that we do in a math or English or other courses. It comes from IRA and experiential learning. So really the work that you're doing and work that everybody doing is really critical to move this institution forward. And bringing this to a state side, make things easier for our students. When I got the job, I got about 200 emails from me about IRA. I kind of exaggerating, but it could have been 200 email, maybe more, about how do we make the IRA easier, the process easier to make it for faculty to apply, for a student to use it. How do we do post IRA? How do we make sure that we get the process going, because it's so critical. And some of our faculty really rely on IRA for their success and our success of our students. So I want to thank Admin and Finance, VP Porter, ASI, to really moving this to a right direction. And we and our people in Provost office, we're here to support you. And I am nothing but excitement to moving this to stateside and making it easier. One more last thing. The governor and a compact have experiential learning is one of the matrix for giving the funding and compact to the CSU. And this program plays a vital role in that compact setting. Thank you very much, and thanks for everything you do.
Hey everyone, my name is Alyssa Adamson. I work for the Provost Office. I'm the Executive Director of Academic Resources. I want to really thank Amir and VP Porter for sharing the why this is happening. So now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes about all of the changes that are going to take place. We have a lot of folks to come up and share today, and so we're going to move really quickly. I'm going to ask that we save our questions for the very end, just for the sake of time. We'll start with questions in the room, and then we'll go to the folks on Zoom. And if we run out of time, we'll come back to those questions that folks share through the Zoom, and we'll make sure that everyone that attended, everyone that is here today gets those questions answered via email or some other way. So here's an agenda for today. As you can see, we've got a lot of folks that are going to come up and share. So I'm just going to go through this very quickly. As a reminder, this message went out to campus on May 5th, just announcing that this transition to state was going to take place. And really the changes with the transition, there's going to be one stateside process. We're no longer going to have multiple sets of the policies and procedures. So that's going to eliminate all of the confusion that folks experienced in the past. Very exciting that the folks in contracts and procurement have worked out a solution where students will no longer have to pay for expenses out of their pocket. So this is a great improvement. We're going to make sure that program budgets are allocated to departments prior to the start of each semester. And everyone that has an IRA allocation is going to be able to see that allocation in OBIEE. So the budget, expenses, and balances will be visible to all. And again, no more of the transfers and chargebacks because everything is going to be on the state side. So there's going to be no more convolution that happened with all of those transfers. And then there's going to also be, as Amir shared, multiple levels of support, both at the department, college level, provost office, and all of our campus partners. All right, thank you. Susan Collins is now going to come up.
I'm like, yeah, Good morning, good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to come up. My name is Susan Collins. I'm the Assistant Director of Corporate Affairs for Associated Students. And I've had the privilege of overseeing this program, the IRA program in ASI for the last few years. It's been about 3 years. Started with the pandemic, so almost 4 years, right? I'd like to also quickly introduce Natalie Azuni. You won't be able to see her online, but she's sitting in the audience here. Natalie is working with me, and she's part of the VPSA office, and she'll be working with us with the committee. You'll see Natalie's name, and you'll hear from her in the future. So we want to welcome Natalie to our team. And just a few things to share with you all. I hope I'm going in the right direction. I am. Okay. So ASI is going to continue to support the committee, the work that we do with the committee, and all of the activities that the committee oversees. And the IRA committee is responsible for proposals and budget development. They're responsible for program changes. If there are any activities that, when you apply for IRA funding, you say, this is what we're going to do to engage students. This is how we're going to use the funds. This is when we're going to do these activities. If that changes and there's some significant change, we need to go back to the committee and say, the proposal you approved, we just need to make some adjustments to. So that's what we're talking about when we say program changes. In order for you to come to the committee with any activities that you need to change or requests, we have committee meeting dates. I've given you the fall dates. We're going to work on spring dates. We'll share those with the global community. And we want to make sure that those of you that received funds, that you let us know, let the committee know how you use those funds. So we have we call it a final report, a summary report. That report is now available in the application system. Those of you that have received funding, you're used to the InfoReady program, which we implemented through the Office of Research and Sponsored projects? Yes, that's it. Office of Research and Sponsored Projects. It's on their website. And guess what? The application process for 2024-25 is open. So those of you faculty members that are interested in receiving funds for the next fiscal year, you can do that now, in addition to using the funds that you received for this year. We did, the committee, in their wisdom and just wisdom, I guess, made some changes to the IRA governance, which is a policy for funding awards and the proposal process. We took out some things that were prohibitive and restrictive, and we only are standing to what the Ed Code says. So the changes, the restrictions that IRA funds are limited to are based purely on the Ed Code. And it says athletic grants, purchase rental, film aids, instructional aids, those types of things. So you can read that and see that that information is there. But I just wanted to highlight a couple things that we edited. One is we took out the exclusion for equipment. So in the past, you could not use your funds for equipment. Now just follow campus policy and procedure, work with asset management, work with your budget folks. That's all you need to do, and you'll be fine. We took out travel limits. Some of you are dancing a jig. Okay, so it used to be a per person travel restriction. We don't have that anymore. What does that mean? Work with your campus folks, work with travel, work with EIP SAGE. My friend is here from SAGE. She's going to talk that student study abroad, global engagement. One day I'm going to get that right, and now I don't need to. So work with those folks to help you and guide you in that process. And then the last thing is, this was mentioned just a minute ago, I think AVP Adamson shared this. Please do not ask your students to pay for expenses for IRA activity. That work should not be coming out of the student's pocket. Work with your budget folks, listen closely, because you're gonna need to know how to make sure that your student activities work and that students have just a wonderful experience and they're not having to pay for that out of pocket. And then just a quick reminder, make sure that you've done the orientation through the Employee Training Center, the ETC. If you received an award, you should have a request in your inbox to take that training. If it's not there, contact IRA funding at fullerton.edu or work with your campus staff to help you resolve that issue. We'll make sure you get the training. So for folks that received an award, please make sure you complete that training. The other training you want to take is the avoiding conflicts of interest, especially our faculty members. As a faculty member, when you use student fees and you're using it for your program, you need to make sure that you complete the conflict of interest requirement. That is all I have. I am now going to turn it over to the wonderful and amazing Joe Lipnitsky for budget.
Thank you, Susan. Wonderful. Wow. It's too early in the morning to hear that. The campus budget office sees this money as students' money. It's not campus money, it is student money. We collect it from students, we spend it on behalf of students, and we need to spend it. That's what my big theme is here, is spend the money, please, please. Susan awarded you the money in the committee. Your job is to spend it as fast as you can. Okay, not totally fast. You spend on what's appropriate, you spend on the things you're supposed to spend it on. But the IRA committee has all the policies and things. Follow them, go to a training, we'll be happy. Budget office just wants the money spent. We collect it from students, we track it, we report it at the year end, whether we spent it or not. I love to report zero balances on fees. It's one of the things I love to do. Spend a lot of time on the fee report, don't like ones that have balances. All right, budget allocations are approved by the IRA committee. They're not approved by your department heads or deans. The IRA committee approves them. Okay, we collect money from the students, the IRA committee doles it out. All right, we also want to do is we want to post these budgets as soon as possible. So we'll actually get an award letter from the president, from the committee, and that'll have the dollars on it. This year we posted it as soon as we could, which is going to always be as soon as we can post it after the carry forward is posted. So all of you who deal with carry forward understand that we're always balancing the carry forward. We're going to balance the state books. As soon as the state books their balances and they're set up and they're going, we will post the IRA approved budget. Okay? The IRA approved budget may or may not be the entire amount of IRA money collected or available in the fund. Okay? That is a big key thing. On the state side, we can see that a lot faster than we could when it was in ASI, and that is a good thing for all of you. Okay? So we're gonna have all the standard OBIE reports available. If you file your credit cards promptly and on time, the expenses show up when you file them. If you wait, they don't show up. Okay? They show up a little faster because I don't have to bill them to ASI anymore. If you code your labor to the right places, they show up as soon as the payroll is posted. Posted every month. So these are all the things we want to know. Okay? The other thing we could do is we do quarterly reporting. And it's part of our mandate to do quarterly reporting. So we will know quarterly whether or not we're going or not. And that should be a good theme. We'll talk about at the very end of mine. This is a sample of the chart of accounts that was mapped to for IRA. There are a ton of accounts available on the campus side. I'm going to say don't use them, but don't use them. The IRA approved certain ones to be used. It's going to help with their policies. But you're going to find that purchasing is going to say, hey, this is a commodity. As she said, use them. The commodity will want to go to a certain place. Don't get in a panic if there's no budget at that commodity. The IRA committee will review them and say, yes, this is what we meant by spending the money. Purchasing did what they want. I don't want to make Alex's job any harder than it already is. So we're going to get these POs posted as fast as we can. So don't be worried if you don't have exactly the right account. We're going to work that over the next year and over the next years. And then we'll be awarding in more detail because these are things that meet the rules. Okay, and that's the whole idea of going stateside, making it easier, get that theme going. All right? All right, the other thing we had to do was budget transfers. Us in the budget office are not as concerned about every little dollar matching up and having zero balances. The IRA committee be a little more stringent about that in the beginning. As time moves forward, they're going to be working with these buckets as well. Theme is spend the money, let's get it spent, okay? So use the same forms you always have used on the state side. There's nothing new with transferring money. It's money like any other money. The only difference is it's in a new fund. You'll see it, you'll be able to sort it a lot easier because it's in a separate fund. All right, the next thing we need to worry about is security. You have to have a DOA to spend the money on the state side. So get your DOA forms processed. It is a department form. Most of you will be arms in the colleges or whatever will be approving things. You already have this DOA. Just because it's in a new fund doesn't mean you don't have DOA approval. If you're going to have somebody new approving stuff, then you need to get them a DOA and get it approved. Same as always in the AEM. If you want people other than your arms and people that help you, run reports. If you want to push it all the way down to a dean or somebody in a college who actually is running the thing, you can give them financial access and they can actually go ahead and run the reports themselves. Nothing confidential, it's just a report. But they have to have security. Get them filed to the forms. The two forms are in here. They really want to see these. These are the actual forms. If you're familiar with them, you know how to fill them out. This is not a training class on how to fill them out. This is a DOA one. DOA is important, gives you authority to spend money. And this gives you the ability to see what you spent. Okay? So those are the two items you want to make sure you get done relatively quick. All right, the next item is what you see on the reports. One of the things I want you to understand is that things can post relatively fast in these. AP happens every day, payroll happens every month. ETRs can be seen the next day, a BTR can be seen the next day. This stuff can be pretty fast. And what my theme is to make people understand is that you'll be able to see the encumbrances. You'll also be able to see the accruals at the end of the year, okay? So if we're going to talk about year-end process, you don't have to wait till year-end to do year-end. Do it early, do it often. If you've finished your award and you're done, tell them they're done. Fill out the reports, send it to the committee. If there's a little extra money left over, they'll send it somewhere else. If you spend a little more money, they'll talk about it and they'll decide, okay, was this appropriate? Can we give you more money or do we have to push it back to the state side, slap your hand? If they can give you a little extra money, they will. I mean, they're not hoarding this money. They want to spend it, okay? So the idea is to be front forward as fast as you can. Don't wait till year end to close out, okay? Don't wait till June. June is like too late, okay? Get it done. And like if you something you do in the fall semester, get it done by January. If it's something you do in the spring, get it done in May when people are in commencement is happening and the professors are packing it and getting ready to leave. You know, you need to get it done then. Don't wait till June. Don't wait till July. July's too late. June's like a problem. July's too late, okay? So with the remaining area of carry forwards, if there's carry forward left and it's not on a PO and it's not on an accrual, we're gonna sweep it and give it back to the IRA committee. And they're gonna have to talk about, well, did you not finish it? Was it good? We wanna reward it. It's the IRA committee's money to make sure they spend it, because it's not their money. They're the custodians of the money for the students. We collect student money, as our VP say, this is about our students, not about us. We're just the people who administer it all. All right? So I'm gonna talk more about administration, and that is gonna be accounting. They're gonna tell you how to spend it fast.
Hello, everyone. My name is Justin Chan from Accounting Services. Lynn could not make it here today, but I will be filling in. Okay, wrong button. Okay, for the nitty-gritty details, IRA funds will be spent in TAO02. As Joe was already saying, the budget is already there. Mandatory chart field strings, the account will be from the expense, the fund will be TA002, department will be your kind of home department, and then your program will be your 4-digit code. The class code is no longer required. We wrote it there twice. For all of these, the program code is required to post any expenses here. This will be similar to SSFGF if you have experience with those funds. And as Joe has already mentioned, the department is responsible for managing TAO2 balances by account and program. This is a reference to the old IRA budgeting template. The purpose of this slide is just to mention that the new account code's being used. This is also the account mapping. This is similar to what Joe presented earlier. It has a couple notes and examples that can be used. Chart fields. So in the past, we used to use 7997 to bill ASI for reimbursement to the state. But now that all of the activities, the state side, we will no longer be using this class code or program code, and we will not be using IRA class codes anymore. And you can find your program codes on our website. So as I just mentioned, we will no longer be billing ASI for expenses. So there should be no more requests for invoices. We don't have to bother with that activity anymore. With ETRs, we don't need to do billable ETRs to bill ASI. But we will be accepting ETRs to transfer expenses, most likely from the fund into TAO02 to match where the budget currently lies. Here's a list of the common service provider chargebacks. If you're going to use these service providers, please give them the updated chart field string, TAO02, your department, and program. And then just as a note, all service providers expenses post to account 617001. Prior year balances, and this is mostly for purchase orders that were carried forward to 2023, they did post into ASI's department 10021 with the program code and class. If you did have purchase orders that carry forward, you should submit a change order to contracts and procurement to update it to your new department and program code. And then our department is still working with ASI to determine the ending balances, and then those balances will be posted to 10021. That should be up. Up next, we have Alex from Contracts and Procurement.
Good morning, team. Good morning, all in presence. Good morning to everyone in Zoom land. Hopefully, this will go smooth for us. Let me make sure that the arrow is working. Yes. So thank you for everyone for the hard work and all the efforts that's been going into this particular transition. It's a lot of moving parts, and we're grateful for your patience and understanding as we, again, transition into this new process for us. what we're asking you, give me a quick second, let me hide this, make sure that I'm that in order for us to process your requisitions in a timely manner, we ask for a little bit of help. If the vendor's new in the system, we've asked you to please submit a new vendor request via the Smartsheet or PaymentWorks. The link is there. The presentation will be provided, and you'll be able to click on that link. Make sure that the vendor provides you an updated quote, and if possible, request insurance when you're also requesting said quote. You're mostly dealing with the sales rep. They usually have that information readily available. That'll help us, move the items forward to you. If you're buying anything that's information technology resources, we need an RITM. I think any software, any equipment needs to be addressed for ADA compliance, accessibility. We're asking you to please give us 3 or 4 weeks to process these requisitions. I think you've heard a recurring theme from us is that we've been understaffed, but we're working now. We have the resources coming to us pretty soon, so we ask you for a little bit more patience, and we'll be able to turn around or improve some of that turnaround time for you guys. Let me make sure that. This information right here is more for individuals out there in Zoom land, in a sense. Gives you an idea of what we're looking for when we're dealing with requisitions. If you're buying commodities, if it's a requisition that's less than 50K, we could go with one quote. If you have 50K, but it's less than 100K, we'll go with an informal bidding process. That means that if you could help us, or we'll get 2 or 3 additional quotes, we'll move forward with that acquisition. We're revising some of our dollar thresholds right now, again, in order to help us expedite and move some of these requisitions forwards. The policy does give us this latitude, so we're using that right now to kind of help move some of the orders. Again, for information technology, less than 50K, one quote will suffice. If it's between 50 and 500K. So as you notice, ITR has a bigger threshold before we go into a formal bidding process. If you're in the 50 to 500K, 3 additional quotes will help us move the acquisition forward. Always remember, we need that RITM authorization number to submit with the requisition. If the vendor's new, please provide the PaymentWorks information as well. And we ask you again to get quotes that are valid within the last 30 days. That'll help us a lot. Always think about the one card or the P card as a possibility to use for these acquisitions as well. The same thing is for services. We have services that less than 50K, one quote, between 50 to 100K, 3 additional quotes to help us move this acquisition forward. And the same is required, your vendor onboarding, quotes, insurance, or proposals if needed with that. If you are using promotional items, we do have a list in the Contracts and Procurement website. It lists the promotional item vendors that you could use with your P-card and go directly to them. We're constantly updating that. We're working with Kim Bell right now to ensure that those promotional vendor items out there are license holder. As you guys have been aware, we have trademarked our logo. So now we're being very careful as to who we let produce promotional items and printing of our logo and font. Okay, if you have a $0 agreement, whether it be service learning, clinical, nursing, teaching, or any other related type of agreement that have a $0 value, please submit that through the contract request form. It could be submitted through that link. Again, the slides will be provided and you'll have access to that contract request app. So for requisitions, I think we've all experienced this now. You know about the 7-1 error. This happened early on in June. If you didn't have a future year requisitions with the 7/1/2023 date, you would have gotten a budgeting error. I think we've resolved that and moving forward. So just keep that in mind. Now we're going to get into the P cards and the declining balance cards. And I think this is one of the items that came out of this whole IRA transition. The Instacart is going to be a module that came onto the US Bank. But I do want to talk about the P cards as well, because it is a preferred method for purchasing quick turnaround, low dollar acquisitions. Okay. So we're asking you guys to review your IRA budget sheet to ensure that department coordinators have a P card. So we have the one card, we have the standard declining balance, and we also have the short-term declining balance. I think you guys are familiar with that. And the new one that's coming on board is the Instacart. I'll talk a little bit more about those in the slides. If your department coordinator is in need of a P card, please submit the applications now. We also have a link to the application form on this particular slide. Again, if your faculty need a P card, please submit the applications now. I think we're way out of the summer break, so I'm sure some of those have come in. My team is receiving a lot of those applications, so thank you for that. If you're using a short-term declining balance card, that's equivalent to a blanket service order or a blanket commodity PO. They must be fully expended or closed out by June 30. Okay. So the P card, again, the P card program offers a lot of benefits to us. Again, it streamlines the process for small dollar orders or repetitive orders. It reduces, invoices and payments. It enables employees to focus on more efficient items of their core mission. I've said this once and I'll say it again. Our core mission is to help our students, graduated students. They're our number one customers, and that's who we exist for. That's who we are here for, right? So again, it helps us focus on that particular core mission. It provides cost savings through consolidated payments to the procurement card company. It also enables faster payments to CSU vendors. A lot of the times you encounter that some suppliers prefer to use the P card because they know they'll get paid right away. And you work with us and work with contracts and procurement if you want to know if a particular supplier can be paid via P card or if we need to do something to help you or enable that for you. The P card application could be found on the following link. Again, this will be a hyperlink when you get the presentation. And I just put this last statement on the bottom is that our P card program is predicated based on the Chancellor's Office overall P card policy and program. So we adapted that, enhanced it to our benefit and high use best on our campus. Again, if you submit a P card application, please allow 2 to 3 weeks to get that. It takes about 5 to 7 days for US Bank once we request a card online through Access Online. So just a couple of reminders, your Pro card should never be used for personal items, narcotics, alcohol, any medical services, any campsites, travel. And when I say travel, it means meals and incidentals, small incidentals. That's the only thing. Because now I think you guys have been advised that travel is allowed on the Pro card. We have lodging, hotels, and other stuff that could put on that. No cash advances, please. That's where the Instacart comes into. That's where the Instacarts will come into play. Okay, so with the Pro card, you cannot get cash advances, firearms, ammunitions, and whatnot. So I put this when to submit a requisition as a guideline for you guys as to when to know when to submit a requisition or when to put something on your P card. If you're buying a commodity, please keep in mind that includes anything that's a tangible good, office supplies, furniture, equipment, computers. What we're looking for on those is that you submit a requisition because if it's over the 50K, here we have 50K, but we are changing our bidding thresholds again so that we could be more efficient for you guys. Please include your quote, your ICT form, and if it's chemicals we're buying, ensure that you have EH&S approval on that. For services, it's non-tangible labor, including repairs, maintenance, consulting, rentals, and leases, any type of installation. The main crux with services, not on a P card, is insurance. We must ensure that we have the proper insurance in place. We work well with risk to ensure that they vet the thresholds that are coming to us, and we must do AM Best ratings and all this. So that's why we don't. With regards to public works, it's so much complicated with that. I said, don't even go there. There's just too many documents that we deal with that. All of those should be coming through a requisition. So finally, we get to the Instacart. The Instacart is something that came, what is it that nothing produces change more than necessity or innovation? Well, the need of IRA to find a solution for you guys, the Instacart came into existence for us. We work with US Bank, and it's a temporary virtual credit card that it allows anyone to pay for business expenses. In this instance, it's going to be the travel expenses. I think, Susan, you had on your PowerPoint on bullet 6, number 6, that IRA account will not reimburse for student travel expenses. This is where this comes into play. And again, it's going to be strictly for that instance, for meals and small incidentals and meals. Remember, student travel will mirror the employee travel, but no out-of-pocket expense. That's what VP Porter said, right? We don't want our students dishing out dough out of their pockets for something that's curriculum or initiated by us in a sense. Remember, flights, transportation, and lodging, it means airlines, hotels, and all that, are permissible on your P card. The one card is what you're supposed to use. Remember, the Instacart is not to supplement your one card, your declining balance card, your short-term declining balance. We could work with those particular cards and add the features that you want or the chart field that you want. Like, for instance, a short declining balance card, right, could be used for a particular supplier if we're going to be using IRA fund. But again, the Instacart should be more for these meals and small incidentals and per diems the students will be dealing with. And even faculty or coaches, if you used to give them money, you could give them the Instacart on that. Again, students and coaches will receive the Instacart for items that are not permissible on the state P card. Meals, as I said earlier, meals, ground transportation, lodging are not allowed on those, okay? So again, the Instacarts are issued with an approved amount. Students can fully spend down their amount just like you do with Apple and Google Pay. We are monitoring this particular program after San Francisco State University and US Bank. They've given us a lot of resources and ability to use this. It is a pilot program. I do say here it is in place now. I still consider it a pilot because we're still learning a lot of nuances with it. We're seeing a lot of transactions going on right now. So we're trying to get our bearings straight as to how we could better serve the program. As it matures and grows, we might be rolling it out. But right now, again, remember, it's just for that instance of the meals per diems, and it's not to supplement your one card, your declining balance card. Okay. So again, for student travel, it's simple to use. They download the card to their mobile phone, and then they could add it to their mobile wallet for in-store purchases. It is secure. The Instacart application funds are available immediately. The minute you submit a requisition or an application, I should say, we created a card. You get an email right away, and you'll see some of this in a little bit in the later slides. Again, it's a fast temporary solution. It easily and quickly sends virtual card to make purchases, eliminating the need for personal spend. You can maintain control and visibility. You guys determine what your limits are going to be dollar-wise. You set the expiration dates as well. We kind of control the merchant category codes, and we're experiencing that right now. Again, as being a pilot program, we're starting to see trends on which MCC codes are being hit up and which ones are being snagged by the system. So we'll work with you guys on improving that as well. So this is the application. As you can see, we've changed even our credit card application. Before, it was more of a PDF. Now we've allowed it for you to choose whether you want a P card, a declining balance card, whether it's short term. Remember, that's the one that maybe we should be using if you have a specific Instacart chart view accounts that you want to use for a specific vendor and for a period of time. You should be using this particular card. And then we have vendor declining balance card, where we issue a card to a specific vendor. It's almost like a blanket commodity order, but it must be spent also by June 30. And then again, you get to choose the Instacart. In the form itself, sorry, I got too excited. The form itself, it gives you some dollar thresholds that what we have for each particular card module, okay? And then you provide us your chart field information. So here it is, the Instacart. How do we provision this card to you? In 3 simple steps. You let us know in the application how much you want to put on the card, who the card is for, and then you send that email to the e-business site. That creates a ticket for us in ServiceNow, and it gets the process going for us. Here's the items that we just talked about. Once we process your application, we then send the recipient who you identify in the credit card application an email. That individual now has the ability to view the card and see the card and download it and add it to their mobile wallet, and ta-da, instant spending. They could start using their card. One new feature that US Bank added for us, because we were experiencing, I guess, when you go to certain stores or point of sales, they don't allow for digital or scan or, a virtual card. So what we do is now we have the ability for you to access the full card 16 digits, either with your Face ID or thumbprint for Android. What this allows is it gives the point of sale, the merchant, the full number, your expiration, and the CCV code. That sometimes has enabled them to accept the virtual card. Okay, so that's something that's happening with the card, and we'll again start to see and evaluate how this is working. Sarah, and when you guys are one of the first ones, I'm sure there's going to be some fact findings that we're going to be aware of. Okay. We have this particular slide about independent contractors and service providers. As Susan mentioned earlier, the ETC training is really good. I took it, and it has a plethora of information. It even gives you information on how to submit a requisition and how to deal with purchasing. I really like that, so that was really good. So thank you for that. I'm putting this in there because in that process, right now we're currently dealing with independent contractors and service providers. By you submitting a requisition, a PeopleSoft requisition, we ask you to include a quote with 30 days expirations or scope of work as well. We ask you to provide proof of insurance. If it's a new supplier, we're asking you to please help us by onboarding them through PaymentWorks. Here's the link for that. Or if you don't, when we get it in purchasing, we then submit that on behalf to AP so they could help us onboard that vendor. We're currently reviewing this process with our HRDI partners. We want to enhance this particular process, and we want to ensure that we are in compliance with policy and also with state and CSU requirements. So future training is coming. In the current state that it is, it's taking us anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks. I would say a little bit longer just due to our staffing needs right now. But once we work with our HRDI partners and we come up with a more like a mature process instead of an ad hoc process, we'll be able to improve on that time as well. I thank you for your time. I think that's all I have. Thank you so much.
All right. Good morning, everyone. So let's get into some topics in AP. I want to start off with the honorarium process. I think everybody has a lot of questions about that, right? It's everybody's probably favorite topic. But really important to start, I just want to let everybody know, effective 7/1/2023, we are no longer using 613-832 account number. We've changed that to 660-832. The rest of the chart field is going to mirror what Justin was talking about earlier. So the account number, TA002, the department, and the program. So in the middle of the slide, you see a link directly to the form. I know sometimes we like to download the form, save them, and then kind of use them more quickly, pre-fill them out, which is fine, but it doesn't account for updates. And so make sure you visit the website to download the newest form. So an honorarium, what is an honorarium, right? So an honorarium is a token of appreciation for, usually it's a guest lecture or some sort of speech that somebody is doing for your department. So it's very important that we understand that with an honorarium, there is no pre-negotiation in terms of the amount of the payment. It's a token of appreciation. It's something we want to give you as a thank you for coming out and doing a speech for us. So on the next slide here, I just want to go over some of the topics of when to hire an individual through the honorarium. Again, it should be just when you're inviting somebody to do a guest lecture, a speech of some sort, and you want to give them that thank you. What I've seen is departments like to also offer to reimburse for travel, which is fine, but we have to remember when we're reimbursing for travel, we have to have itemized receipts. Otherwise, it's an additional payment on towards the honorarium. In that type of circumstance, it's normally okay, right? If we are increasing the honorarium, but I want to stress to everybody that there are situations that call for additional analysis, particularly when we're dealing with foreign individuals. The tax system is quite complex, and there are many rules that come into play. So please allow yourself extra time when submitting not only the vendor to be set up on the system, but also when you're submitting the payment, so that we can run these analyses. Because if we're trying to work after the fact, it could affect your budget. So if, for example, you've told somebody, we're gonna give you a $500 honorarium and we're gonna reimburse $2,000 worth of travel, and they don't keep receipts, they don't submit receipts, we can work with you to correct the issue, but what's gonna happen is we're gonna have to gross up the payment, and then the additional amount is gonna come out of your budget so that we can pay the tax. So your $2,500 expenditure could easily increase to $3,300, $3,600, depending on the situation. So just keep that in mind. Please allow yourself extra time, particularly with the foreign vendors. I can't stress that enough. Honorariums that are exceeding $5,000, those are going to have to run through procurement. So please keep that in mind, and also adjust your timeframes for that. Lastly, I wanted to stress the timing, the turnaround time that our department has, and our department works really hard to maintain this time frame. Is 7 to 10 business days. So once we have all of the approvals, everything is checked off by the department, we are able to turn these around within about a week, 7 to 10 business days. So try to plan accordingly, right? I know sometimes things can fall through the cracks, and we're trying to pay them when they're here rather than having to mail a check. So just keep these timelines in mind here. So for the foreign folks, I would say give yourself an additional 2 weeks, just because the process is very time consuming in terms of the tax analysis that we have to make. For the rest of the accounts payable process, I just want to let everybody know the process is essentially the same as non-IRA funds, right? So an invoice comes in either through a check request or through a PO. We're gonna go out to the department. We're gonna ensure that there's approval. The department's role in this, since we're all kind of partners in this, is to ensure that the funds are being spent appropriately, that the funds are available. And then our role is to make sure that the receipts are there, that we're sort of audit proof in terms of that process. So our normal terms when it comes to AP is net 30 unless we see something different. So for example, if a vendor like I've seen Staples will say something along the lines of we'll give you a 1% discount if you pay within 10 days, then we aim for that 10-day time frame so we can leverage that discount. Otherwise, if there are no terms set, we're going to default to net 30. Net 30 means 30 days from the invoice date. Of course, that also requires that we get this in an appropriate time frame. If we're getting this on the 29th day, it's a little bit more difficult to turn it around so quickly given all that we have to audit. But generally, again, just like the honorariums, AP is operating in about a 7 to 10 day business day time frame. And I really want to thank the team for that. They've been working really hard. And up next, we have travel. So I'll pass it over to Zarita.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Zarita Moore. I don't really get out much, so it's nice seeing everybody because I know I've worked with a lot of you, usually on Zoom and on email and on phone. But so it's nice to see everyone and everyone on Zoom too. I just want to make sure I do the right. Yes, okay. So there's really not much difference between state travel and IRA travel for, when you're processing a travel request. And just be sure when you're processing the IRA that you use the chart fill that Justin mentioned earlier. And for Concur, that should be used by all state employees and also student assistants. So what we did was for student assistant, we went ahead and add on the traveler type, you could go ahead and, select whether it's job related or non-job related. So both of those should be done on Concur if you're a student assistant. And for CSUF student and for student that are non-job related, that's traveling on university business, you're gonna need to submit 2 forms. Those are the 2 risk management form. It's the liability form and the student conduct agreement form. So let's say if you're a student assistant and you're traveling for non-job related, please also complete these 2 forms. And what you'll do is you'll go ahead and upload it to the Concur on the travel request, okay? And CSUF student will continue to do the paper process. This is students that are non-student assistant. You'll submit the paper form. But there is an exception though, if it's led by a faculty program, let's say for a study abroad program, for those you do not need a travel request because it's covered under the international program agreement. But however, let's say if we are going to be reimbursing the student, then you're going to have to submit a travel request. The other thing too is for field trip. I know a lot of you have questions regarding field trip and you get confused about that, but you do not need to submit a travel request for field trips. Okay, and then I know our risk management will talk more about field trip later. So next slide. Okay, so we ask that you submit your travel request 4 to 6 weeks to us. Please don't wait till the end because we need time to review it. And then, sometimes we need additional approval. And then we have to make sure that all the documentation is on there too. So if you can submit it to us as soon as you know that you're going to be traveling. The other thing for international travel, you're going to need additional time. So, be sure to make sure to submit it between 6 to 8 weeks. For that one, risk management's going to have to review it. And if it is a high hazard country, they're going to need additional approval from the president's office. So just make sure to give yourself enough time, especially for the international travel. So the thing is, like Joe mentioned, please do not wait till June to submit all of your travel claim because we do get a lot of travel during May and June. And, we ask that you should be submitting at 60 days after you've returned from your trip because that's when it's due. And there was an audit finding on that. So if you can just submit your claim as soon as you return from your trip, that'll be the best. And just don't wait till the end. And so right now I have some help now finally. And so we're, gonna try to process all the travel reimbursement. We say about 10 business day. That's if there's no issues and we don't require any additional documentation. So we will try to get it done between, 10 business days. So, and that's all I have. And the next one will be Cheryl Merrill. All right, thank you.
Hello, thank you everyone. Thank you for including me to share the role of study abroad and global engagement in some of these processes. And it's really nice to see faces. Just like Sarita was saying, I've only met a lot of you through email, so thank you. It's really great to meet everyone. My name is Sheree Merrill. I serve as the Associate Director for Study Abroad and Global Engagement. And with IRA support, we are able to work towards these goals that we have for our office, which is to strive to connect our diverse community of students, faculty, and staff with global opportunities that enrich their academic and professional lives and drive personal development and transformation. And IRA contributes hundreds of thousands of dollars towards this goal every year to the faculty that are awarded. So you're integral to the work that we do with the faculty and the departments and the rest of you here in the room and on campus. So thank you. Our approach, and I have to give credit to my friend Lee Rivers, who works with Fulbright, is to build awareness of these opportunities, next build belief about how to do these things, and then counsel, now that you are aware of them and believe that you can do it now, let's counsel you on the process for going through it and participating. So again, IRA is a big supporter of everything we do. And with our campus community, getting through steps A and B can be the major hurdles. C is sort of a breeze. So just talking a little bit about whom we serve. Obviously the students, everything we do, all we do is for the students. We provide advising, we provide support through the application process. There's a lot of university processes that we work together with many of our partners here on campus. I'm looking around the room, admin and finance, travel. I don't know if anyone from the registrar is on this call. The faculty and the departments, we work very closely with all of you, so thank you. Insurance risk management, here I see. And then we provide a lot of travel support while they're actually abroad. And then there's a lot of things that happen after the program. So we're always busy. There's never a downtime anymore. And we also work closely with our faculty and staff. And then in the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about those phases of the faculty-led program journey. We also collaborate with our colleges and departments, not just for faculty-led, but for also academic advising related matters so that they can help to support their students in making the decisions whether or not to participate. Financial aid, how are students going to fund this experience? There's also post-grad opportunities and discipline-specific opportunities we help to advise about. And also a big part of what we do is related to health and safety, risk management in the abroad environment. And we do support student affairs when Title IX issues do occur while abroad. Okay. So this is a graphic meant to demonstrate what the phases are with faculty-led study abroad and how IRA fits into it. And so I'll try to go briefly through the different phases and sort of detail how IRA fits in there. So we start, like here's the linear version on the right, but the circle is meant to show you that this is a never-ending circle. It's a wheel of time. It just keeps turning. And so phase one is the proposal phase. We had an audit, I want to say in 2021, and as one of the findings was that there was the need for a formal documented approval process, which in this phase, there's two forms that faculty leaders should submit to their department chair and to their dean's office. And this sort of gets the process going it describes what's the academic content and what is it you want to do on the ground and why do you have to do this abroad? How does it tie in with the course? Once you have those approvals, and our ideal timing is starting backwards 18 to 12 months out. That is a signal to SAGE that you have permission to work with our office. A caveat to that is some of your colleges may have an internal process of their own that's also formal. For example, HNSS has a study abroad committee that accepts applications, reviews, and then approves them. So they come in to the process with us at phase 2, which is the budget approval. So ideally, we're reaching that part of the journey at least a year out. In a perfect world, but I know sometimes we're a little bit inside of that timeline. We will work with the faculty members in their departments to create the budgets for the programs. And this is where we know, okay, how much IRA funding has been awarded. We include that in the budget. Any other department funding or university funding you're receiving goes into the budget. This part, I did want to make an observation. While students won't be paying out of pocket for any IRA covered expenses, if there's a difference between the total cost of the program and what the IRA award is per student, the students will be paying out of pocket for that portion of it. So I didn't want to, some of these programs are fully funded and covered by the IRA funds, and that's wonderful. But for some of our programs that do travel abroad, there is a difference in costs that the students then come out of pocket to pay. So that was one thing I did want to clarify, although I feel kind of like I'm bursting a bubble. I got really excited when I saw that and I was like, oh, wait. And so, okay, I just want to make sure I put a note about that. And so the budget, once we agree on all sides with the faculty, their department, that everything is in there, we refer to ASI to make sure we've gotten the amounts correct, distributions are correct. Then our office will route that for approval to the faculty members chair, the dean, and then our head of budget and finance in extension and international programs will provide an additional approval. What's really important about phase 2 is that the budget serves a couple of purposes. One, once it's approved, it starts the international agreement process, which I'll talk about a little more in a second. It also opens the recruitment phase. So at this point, faculty can say, my program application is open, students can sign on. So the earlier that starts, the better, because phase 3 can start and students have more time to save, departments have more time to complete administrative processes leading up to the program departure, and the international agreement, which is the university's formal document, which, as Zarita mentioned, once it's approved, it authorizes the students' travel as participants in the approved program. It also authorizes payments to vendors as described in the actual agreement. So with regard to IRA funds, the IRA amounts that are awarded and related to any payment that will be going to a vendor are clearly stated in that international agreement. So in the past, I know a lot of programs have run using POs to authorize payments. And that's fine if departments still want to do a PO in addition to the already required international agreement. But if you don't want to do a PO in addition to it, the agreement has been accepted as sufficient documentation to authorize that payment. So there's just some information there for you so that, as far as your processes are concerned, it can simplify things for you. Okay, moving on to phase 3, the planning and recruitment I mentioned. The earlier you can start that, the better, because it's more likely you are able to recruit a large enough group to make your program viable and meet the target minimum enrollment that is stated in the program budget. Phase 4, all of the pre-departure things are happening. Students are in their application completing tasks, faculty are completing checklist items, the departments are working together with our office in issuing payments to vendors, et cetera, et cetera. So that's a really important phase as well. Very busy time. 5, you're traveling, you're abroad, you're keeping in touch with us, letting us know if there's any incidents abroad, risk management situations, and we're here to provide support. John Beisner, I can tell you, until the faculty-led programs come home at the end of summer, we're just like awake at night. So, but we're there and we're available if you need our support. And then phase 6, when you come back, there's all of those post-program tasks, probably travel claims, closing your IRA report, and then there's some other things that we do with students and reconnecting with faculty. And then we start it all again, back to phase 1. Hopefully we'll have started phase 1 with the faculty members before you've left. That's kind of the goal, is to get it going. Before you go, you're already starting to plan your next program. But I know that that isn't always the case. If it could be, that would be ideal, but we do try to be flexible where it's possible. Let me just make sure I'm gonna check anything here. Oh, one thing I did wanna say, in just last comment, for phase 2, if something happens where you find out about funding or your funding changes after your budget has been approved, we do have an amendment process for the budget, and we also have an amendment process for the agreement. So while we like things to be as complete as possible at those phases, we realize things can change. But we also do know that IRA awards are announced in April. So if you have a program that's going the following summer, that's already a good time to start talking with our office, to start planning that far in advance. We really don't mind. We really would prefer it. So I think that's all I have. And I'm really glad it's the end of my presentation because my voice is so hoarse. We had our fair yesterday, so I sound terrible. I promise. I was just talking all day at our study abroad fair. So, but thank you, and Michael Coughlin.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name's Michael Coughlin. I'm the University Risk Manager. I'm going to run through these pretty quick. So, field trips. This definition, off-campus group learning activity led by a faculty or staff member. All those need to be together to make it a field trip. The link to the field trip guidelines is shown below. It's 2 pages, however, I cannot guarantee that it's current. A review is on our to-do list, like so many other things. But as a rule of thumb, you're going to need 3 documents to collect or put together in order to run a field trip. The university waiver of liability, that link in the middle of the page, the code of conduct, student code of conduct, the link at the bottom of the page, and an emergency contact roster for the attendees, which you can be found a downloadable sample on the HRDI website. That's where both those links from the previous page can be found, and it's the department/college's responsibility to hold all those forms for 3 years after the field trip. Please do not send them to me. Okay, volunteers. The link to the volunteer form is shown right there, and that's the only version accepted. It's got a May 20th, 2023 footer down in the bottom left-hand corner. Oh yeah, right there. Otherwise, we'll send it back. Executive Order 1083 acknowledgement. There's where to find that form. Every volunteer needs to sign either attachment C, which will be the most likely, or attachment D like dog, the less likely. If the volunteer is a minor, this volunteer release form, risk management website, that needs to be completed by the parent or guardian of the minor. And the volunteer form asks for a minimum of 2 weeks to process. Usually, we do better than that. However, if the volunteer needs training, they're working in a lab or something like that, or if they're working with minors and are going to need a live scan and a background check, 2 weeks is not enough time, so plan accordingly. And these are some common oversights that we found in the processing of volunteer forms. The most important one is that one in the middle in bold. Volunteers cannot begin their service until risk management approves their service by email and they complete any required training. Please, please, please don't have them start until they do both, because if they're not approved and something happens, they may not be covered by the university's insurance, which makes them personally liable for their boo-boos. Okay, and my contact information's there when you need me. Tammy Dietzel.
Okay, well, good morning and happy Thursday, fellow Titans. My name is Tammy Dietzel. I'm the Associate Director of Talent Acquisition, and I'm here to talk to you all about special consultant appointments. So these shouldn't be new to most of you in the colleges. We use this process basically for anything that shakes out that's not a full true recruitment. We do something called a quick hire process. And so for these IRA funds, should you need a special consultant, we ask that you use our quick hire process. So the quick hire process is the same as it's always been. That's why I don't have a ton of slides on it. We already have a very nice website dedicated to that. So please follow our quick hire process. Should any of you have any questions, I do have a full recruiter team, myself, Chris Schilfer, Karen Perez, Sarah Buzos. We're all here to help you with this process. We're excited to support this IRA and student activities if we can. So please follow this process. You can see all the different items on our quick hire webpage, but like Michael's presentation for volunteers, I do have a couple of reminders, and I like what he called it is common things that will help you avoid delays. So that's essentially what this slide is for you. So when you do submit your quick hire request to hire a special consultant, please make sure you have it fully filled out. So give us all the duties, what makes this special consultant special, what are they doing on campus? That way we can properly assess the risk, properly assess, just like Michael was saying, what kind of background check needs to happen to ensure that our students are safe when they're working with this person. So that's our primary objective through this process. You also need a CMS position number, which Sang will talk after me a little bit. So make sure you have a CMS position number. Same as Michael's presentation, work may only commence after authorized from our department. We do not have retroactive start dates. Should you need this, we will help you, but we aren't happy about it. It does cost the university penalties when we do this, and Human Resources is absorbing those costs. So this special consultant that you want to pay $1,000 to do the work may end up costing the university in the thousands because we're getting penalized for those retroactive start dates. So please, please make sure that you're doing this beforehand, or doing it as soon as possible. As soon as you want to hire this person, put in this request. So candidates must also apply to the temporary pool. And you notice I'm calling them candidates because I work in recruiting, but basically the individual that you want to hire, they will have to apply to our temporary pool so that we can bring them in as a special consultant, and we'll help your candidate work through that. Candidates must also submit to appropriate background check procedures, as I mentioned, prior to the commencement to work. We need to make sure that they are safe to be working with our students. They are safe to be working with those minors prior to the commencement to work. So just like Michael, we don't want any boo-boos prior, making sure that they're done and completed and they're signed off and they're safe to start working. Candidates must physically verify documentation of eligibility to work in the United States prior to work. Now that's not me, Tammy Dietzel, making some requirement. That's not even the CSU making some kind of requirement. That is the Department of Homeland Security. I must ensure that this person is legally eligible to work in the United States of America. And in order to do that, we have to verify physically documentation in our payroll department. So don't forget that these new hires will have to physically report to our payroll department to ensure that they are legally eligible to work in the United States. Candidates must also complete their work within the state of California, and that is a CSU policy for employees that work in the state of California. If you're going to be a state employee on our state payroll, the work must happen in the state of California. So any questions you have, I'm sure there's a lot of questions about that, you can direct them to us afterwards and we'll help you work through that. And also a note, because I do handle staff and management recruitments, so most of this will go through my office. However, I did want to have a note about faculty additional employment. That is handled by my partner, Natalie Bursig, who handles all of our academic human resources. So should I get a request and I review it and I'm like, I think this isn't a special consultant, this is actually faculty additional employment, we'll help you and redirect you to the right office and get you to the right place. So rather than having a whole other presentation on faculty additional employment, we decided this is probably the quickest way. Most of them are going to shake up as special consultants through my office, and there may be some that are faculty additional employment, and we'll help you as needed. So that concludes my section. I'm going to invite up Sang.
Hi everyone, I'm Sang Rojas for Position Management. I'm going to talk about student task profile today. Okay. When to submit student task profiles is when one is needed. So the beginning of the month prior to hiring the student or prior to the 4th of the month if it's for a previous month. This allows time for setup and getting combo codes validated by budget. We work with budget on that. And pretty much processing is allowed 7 business days from the time of submission if everything on the student action form, task action form is correct. Okay. Make sure you get all the appropriate approvals. On the description of the request, we ask that you be so specific as possible so that way we know how to put a distinction on what the task group or the task profiles will be for. So for departments that have multiple task profiles, we can, by the description is what, we'll let you know which ones the students will be selecting to put on the timesheet, okay? And new naming convention with CHRS coming very soon. The task groups will have a new naming convention. It will have the FL, which is for Fullerton, and then the department ID. Task profile ID will have the FL, the department ID, and then the leading sequence number for that task profile ID. Okay? And that is pretty much it for student task profiles.
Okay, so we're almost towards the end of our presentation today. This is a new slide. I wasn't expecting it. Okay. Oh, this is just a reminder that contracts and procurement is the only authorized unit to sign off on contracts. We want to make sure that we don't have individuals and employees signing off on documents that contracts and procurement should be signing off on, because you could be held personally liable for that cost. Okay, so that's just a reminder. And then we have some do's and don'ts, best practices. Ask for advice. We've heard that many times from folks that you should work with your budget folks in your departments when you're not sure about something. Check your balances in the approved spend categories. Check our IRA balances and maximum spend for the year, and ask questions because your team is here to help you. Don't procure items on your own without prior approval. Don't sign contracts because you don't want to have to pay for those. Some of those are very costly. And if you need to purchase any kind of IT items, make sure you get your IT authorization, and never acquire services on your own. Okay.
So my name's Bonnie Lee Victorino. I am working with Alyssa in the Provost office. So we put together some final slides for you guys for best business practices, because I know faculty, there is red tape, but you have tiered support from your colleges, your departments, your arms, your budget analysts, your HR analysts, and then you have your campus partners now on the state side. So if you're thinking there's red tape, we all know we work for the state. So yes, it's like I say, peeling layers of an onion, you're gonna cry. But if you do it correctly the first time, you won't be crying that much, I promise. So one of the things is plan ahead and allow for processing times. Consult and work with your colleges and department. Make sure you obtain pre-approvals. Do not commit or procure vendor services on your own. We also work with our campus partners to give you some processing guidelines. So for IRA line items, it takes 7 days to process. OBIEE access, it takes 2 to 3 weeks. P cards, 2 to 3 weeks. For instant cards, 2 weeks prior to traveling. For requisitions, it takes about 3 to 4 weeks. And independent contractors, about 3 to 4 weeks. And then you have your accounts payable for your honorarium invoices, check requests, and your travel requests. So please make sure that you guys are adhering to these deadlines. Please plan ahead with your campus partners and your colleges. For human resources processing timelines, you have the special consultants, which is 4 to 6 weeks. You have 7 business days for student task profiles, and for volunteers to risk management, it's about 2 weeks. And what was I? Okay, for the next steps, just to recap, make sure that you complete your IRA post-awards orientation via ETC, request your OBIE access, have your P cards in place and ready to go, have your, have instant cards for your student travel, pre-plan with your college and departments to ensure that pre-approvals are in place, and allow time to adhere for processing timelines. And the department contacts and resources, you'll see academic affairs, admin and finance contacts, our human resources contacts, student verics contacts. And then we also have a website that everybody worked really hard to put together for you guys. So the link is here. And again, I would probably be a rich girl right now because I got 50 questions about whether or not the slide is going to be shared. So yes, it will be shared. The slides will be shared after the presentation and the live stream as well. So please make sure that you will get all the information that you guys need, and all this will be provided to you. If there's any questions, I know we're running out of time, but for the people in the room, do you guys have any quick questions? Maybe we could take a couple, and then whoever is online, we will share the questions that aren't answered so far. Go ahead, Sheree.
Can I just offer a comment in addition to one of the slides you had?
Sure.
For contracts, it is true, contracts and procurement can only sign off on those. For international agreements, contracts and procurement signs off on those, then it goes up to the provost, the chancellor's office, and the president. So that's the final sign off. So I did want to make that distinction with the international agreements.
Sounds good. And I think Sheree just wanted to recap, because I don't think the people on Zoom can hear, but for contracts, she said that, sorry.
For the international agreements.
International agreements.
There is in addition to the contracts and procurement approval, it then goes on to the provost's office, the chancellor's office, and the president before it's considered approved.
Okay.
So there's a chain of approvals.
There's a chain of approvals for the requisition process. It has to go through the college, the provost, the chancellor's office, and the president's office for those contracts.
And I just want to, if there are no more questions, I just want to make one point because I don't want to get a bunch of DOA forms that are not going to be approved. So delegation of authority is restricted just to MPP employees. So if you're in a college, that means it's probably your dean. If you work in an AVP unit, it's going to be your AVP. Or it could be your resource manager if you have a resource manager in your college. Chairs do not have delegation of authority. I know in the colleges, there's a review process where a dean will want to see that a chair has initialed something before it comes to them for approval, but a chair does not have delegation of authority because a chair is faculty and delegation of authority is restricted just to MPP employees, management. Okay?
And lastly, I just wanted to say a thank you to our campus partners, ASI, ANF, Human Resources, Study Abroad, and Global Engagement. And a very special thank you to May and Joe Fell back there, who worked really late last night to get this together.
Right.
So thank you.
Thank you all for your time.